Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Longtin from Kelly Longtin Law, and today I want to take some time to talk to you about identity theft because this is an issue that is definitely not just something that occurs when someone is alive, but it also happens after someone has passed away. And identity theft is the last thing a grieving family should have to worry about after the loss of a loved one. Unfortunately, identity thieves have increasingly targeted the identities of deceased people, using their names and other identifying information to get credit cards, apply for loans, collect refunds based on fraudulent tax returns, and even obtain proof of U.S. citizenship. Although family members are not personally responsible for the deaths of their deceased loved ones, it may take an effort to resolve the situation if a loved one's identity is stolen. You and your family can take action to prevent identity theft from happening. So let's talk about some things that you should do in order to prevent the theft of a deceased loved one's identity. Because thieves will not wait for your family to grieve before trying to steal and use your loved one's identity to open accounts. A spouse, a family member, or the executor of the deceased person's estate should take immediate action to prevent the decedent's personal information from being stolen. The first thing that you want to be aware of is to not reveal personal information. Although some criminals obtain the personal information of people who have passed away from funeral homes or hospitals, it is more common for them to look for this information online or in print obituaries. And as a result, it's important not to list the deceased person's date of birth, their address, or mother's maiden name, which along with a person's full name could be used to illegally purchase the person's social security number. It's also important to exercise similar caution when you're posting a notice on social media. You want to immediately take steps to close credit accounts. Look for the deceased person's credit cards and wallets or purses and contact those companies to notify them of the death and close those accounts. Neil O'Farrell of the Identity Theft Council, a nonprofit organization that provides assistance to prevent and remediate identity theft, also recommends obtaining a copy of the person's credit report from the annualcreditreport.com to learn all about the accounts that are currently open in the person's name. Alternatively, a family member or the executor can mail a request to the credit bureaus providing certain identifying information for themselves and their loved one, as well as a death certificate. At that point, they can contact any other creditors listed to notify them that the account holder has passed away. This will prevent thieves from using any existing credit card accounts. You'll want to contact all of the banks and the investment companies and lenders and any mortgage companies. Even if a surviving spouse is also an account holder, it is important to notify these companies of the death. Now, I want you to be warned that although there are regulatory protections for credit card accounts and bank deposits, limiting losses from unauthorized transactions, there is no similar protection for mutual funds, brokerage investments, and retirement accounts. And as a result, it is important to make these notifications as soon as possible. You'll definitely want to notify the three major credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, to ensure that no new credit can be obtained using the deceased person identity. The main credit bureaus must be notified in writing. Although the Social Security Administration will eventually contact the credit bureaus to notify them that a person has passed away, this often does not occur for months after the death of your loved one. Send a letter and an original copy of your loved one's death certificate through certified mail with a return receipt to each of the three credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, to request that a deceased alert be placed on the credit report. In addition, you should request that a surviving relative or the executor be notified if an application of credit is made. If you're a family member, you may also have to include proof of your relationship, for example, maybe a marriage license. To expedite the notification process even further, Experian provides family members with the option of uploading the death certificates directly to its system, and Equifax allows family members to email the death certificate to it. but keep in mind that email is not always the most secure way to transmit this type of information. Notify the Social Security Administration. The funeral directors often report deaths to the Social Security Administration as part of the services that they offer to the deceased person's family. But the responsibility, ultimately, for ensuring that the notification is given is on the survivors, and they need to contact the Social Security office or call the Social Security office toll-free number that you see in front of you. This notification is especially important if the deceased person was collecting any type of benefits. You'll also want to notify the IRS to prevent thieves from filing a fraudulent tax return to obtain a refund in the deceased person's name. The IRS should be sent a copy of the death certificate, which should be mailed to the address where the deceased person normally filed their tax return. In addition, a copy of the death certificate should be sent to the IRS with the deceased person's final tax return. Contact the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's also important to cancel your loved one's driver's license so that a criminal cannot fraudulently obtain a new one in their name. Over the next few months, you'll want to monitor the deceased person's credit report. Continue to check your loved one's reports regularly to ensure that there's no credit activity, and if there is, contact the police, the credit bureaus, and the creditor as soon as you can. You'll also want to notify any other relevant groups. There are a number of entities that could have your loved one's personal information or may have been providing benefits to him or her. For example, you have the Veterans Administration if the deceased person was a veteran, Medicare, and any other relevant professional licensing agencies. If you discover that your loved one's identity has been stolen, despite your efforts to prevent it, contact the police and notify any company involved. It's hard enough to lose a loved one, and the stress induced by identity theft can make the loss even more painful. We can help ensure that you and the executor of your loved one's estate take all the necessary steps to prevent your deceased loved one's identity from being stolen. Contact us today for an appointment to discuss this or any of your other estate planning concerns. Thank you for watching. I'm Kelly Longtin from Kelly Longtin Law.